We've got our first guest I'm going to bring up without further ado. I want you all to welcome Otto Shill of Gallagher and Kennedy. Now, our sponsor today, Otto, so good to see you.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. Now, our sponsor for today's show is Gallagher and Kennedy, and they were founded in 1978.
Yep.
Gallagher and Kennedy, I understand, is the 7th largest law firm in Arizona, and is the only top 10 firm focusing almost exclusively in Arizona, huh?
Yep.
Wow, okay. Now, they offer a full range of legal services, and of course, joining us, Otto, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about you and the firm itself. So, with that said, producer Bob tells me that one of the big legal talking points this year for small businesses around the Corporate Transparency Act. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of the Corporate Transparency Act? Good, there are some of you. You're talking to Craig then. That's important. So the Corporate Transparency Act was passed back in 2021 to combat money laundering. And the people who are administering it are the criminal division of the Treasury Department. They're the same people who've been chasing people around the world for foreign bank accounts and assets. And if you know about that at all, you know they have no sense of humor. So they've decided that the thing to do to combat money laundering is to create a complete database of all the legitimate companies so that they'll know when they find one that isn't legitimate. What that means to all of us is every one of us who has a small company that has less than 20 employees and less than $5 million in revenue a year, or that's not been inactive for a year and has no assets, we've got to file by the end of 2024 with the Treasury Department. And all you have to do is report who the owners of the business are. If you've got one or two companies, that's probably pretty simple, but if you've got multiple companies, it could be fairly complex. So.
Okay, and is that something somebody would talk to their attorneys about, or how would you learn more about that?
Talk to your attorneys or your accountants. It's very important. The penalties are $500 a day, up to $10,000, and 2 years in jail if you don't do it. So what we're all concerned about is that about 3 years from now, a bunch of mom and pop business owners are going to get hit with penalties from FinCEN for not reporting. So please pay attention to it. You're welcome to call me or call Craig, call anybody who can help you get the compliance done. So.
All right, yeah, that'd be a good idea for somebody to reach out to you if they've got some concerns about that. Now, you've talked a lot in chamber circles about the employee retention tax credit. That was part of the CARES Act that was originally came from the COVID relief. And there's been some controversy around that credit. Can you share some information about that?
Now, so the employee retention credit in the beginning was an alternative to PPP loans. Have you heard about PPP loans? Anybody get one? So in the day, when all the legislation first came out in the CARES Act, you could either get a PPP loan or you could get a refund of the employment taxes. The whole idea was to help you keep your workforce employed, even though they couldn't come to work during COVID. Then when Congress passed, I think it was the Secure 2.0 Act, they made the employee retention credit an additional benefit that you could get. So you could have a PPP loan, or you could have gotten one or two, and then you could still get the retention credit. The problem we've got is that across the country, a bunch of unscrupulous promoters started selling employee retention credit filing services, and the Treasury Department currently is projecting more than 70% of the businesses who've received refunds of the employee retention credit don't qualify for them. It was a big enough problem that in March they ran a forgiveness program, and you could pay back money that you weren't entitled to and only have to pay 80% of it back because they knew people had been taken advantage of by the promoters. Well, that program is now passed, but this is top on the audit list for the Treasury Department, the Internal Revenue Service. So if your CPA didn't vet your qualification and you got an employee retention credit, you needed to go back to your qualified advisors and make sure that you qualify. If you don't, if you didn't qualify, then you need to make arrangements to repay the money. And the Internal Revenue Service will enter into installment agreements, but they're going to come audit all of this. There's going to be criminal activity or criminal prosecutions associated with it. So pretty important to pay attention to that one too.
Wow, that's great insight. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. A bird told us that you happen to fly planes. You're a pilot.
I do.
How long have you been doing that?
25 years, 30
No
years.
kidding. What kind of planes?
I've got a Cessna 182 that's a four-place airplane that goes places, and a Cessna 140 that I built. It's a little 1946 airplane that can't go very far. You can climb to altitude, but then you have to land to get more gas.
So do you get a lot of people asking you to give rides and that sort of thing while you're giving legal advice? Or how's that?
Well, not while I'm giving legal advice, but I give a lot of rides.
All right. So one of your specialties in law is around estate planning.
Yeah.
You've shared elsewhere about the gift and estate tax credit and have some potentially damaging changes and some of the potentially damaging changes that are in line to happen with that legislation. Would you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So in 2017, there were two important tax law changes that happened. One is that we decreased our corporate income tax rate because worldwide we were not competitive in the United States. Our corporate tax rate was significantly higher than the average rate across the world. And secondly, we increased the credit against gift and estate tax because we were at a $5 million level, and we increased it to $11 million because so many people had small farms or small businesses, and when somebody died, when mom or dad died, all of a sudden the business or the farm was worth a lot, but folks didn't have a lot of cash to pay, so they were selling the farms and the businesses to pay tax. That was a bad result. So the credit was increased so that each spouse in a marriage or each person had at that time $11 million. And that number was indexed for inflation. So now we're up to about $13.5 million per person that you can either give away during your lifetime or die owning and not have to pay gift and estate tax. Unfortunately, because of the political gridlock we have, the way that the law was passed made it so that the law only endured for 9 years. And so come January 1st of 2026, that credit that went up to now $13.5 million will roll back to the 2017 level adjusted for inflation. So we expect everybody's credit to go back to about $7 million a person. So all of you who have more than $25 million need to do something right now. I say it in jest, but if you have assets that are of significant value but aren't particularly liquid, it's an important point to take note of. If your business has grown, if your business is worth a lot of money, now's the time to do some planning because the credit's never gone down over time, but the political situation is so difficult right now that it's of concern that this is going to happen. And so planning now and starting now is important.
Right. Otto, thank you very much. And I tell you, one of the things that just stands out to me as you're talking is that the Mesa Chamber of Commerce offers great opportunities for us to network and get to know one another and to be able to get support. And so if someone wanted to talk to you about that topic or other topics, how would they get a hold of you?
I think my contact information is, we've got a table back here. Anna Walp, Anna, Parade Wave. Anna Walp is our marketing person, and she's got information, and Sally knows how to get a hold of me. I'm on the chamber board and the executive committee, so we often program. If there's anything you'd like to hear about, if there are any technical legal issues or business-related issues, let Sally know, and we'll be happy to put a program on for you.
Otto, thank you on behalf, thank you to you, Gallagher and Kennedy, for joining us on Mesa Morning Live. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right.